Hello and welcome to another Plate Stack chat with myself, Jason. As always, a quick thank you to Strivey, the wonderful people that help support this show. So now it is time, of course, to bring on today's guest. To say that you might know her from Grid League is a little bit of an understatement, as she keeps herself very busy, whether that's weightlifting, coaching, running her business, MCHN, or traveling around spreading fitness in some pretty interesting locations. Oh, and don't let the barbell fool you. She was also a gymnast for at least 12 years and can still pull off some pretty impressive party tricks. Please welcome Rebecca Rouse. Hi, Rebecca.
Hello. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on. I'm glad we finally managed to get it sort of in the calendar and pull it off. So that's good. You're busy. You're really busy. I look at your Instagram and you seem to be all over the place doing stuff. So
yes, so I am. And I'm trying to come up with a new adjective so that when people ask me how I'm doing, I have something other than busy to say, because everyone's busy, but like, let's come up with something better. So productive, adventurous, I don't know. We'll get there.
We will get there. So that's the goal. Jeffrey said, finally a Texan. There we go.
Yes.
So Jeffrey, lovely to see you here. If you can think of a word we can use instead of busy to show how productive Rebecca is in life, then let us know. We'd appreciate that. I've got loads of questions. It's nice just to have a chat. I've got some things I'd like to talk about. I'm going to start with this one just so I can ask and we can clear it away. Will you be back on the grid in 2026?
Absolutely. I will be back with the brigade for year 3. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. Okay. So I would be a fool not to ask, because I don't think they've posted anything about re-signings yet. At least not that I've seen. Maybe I've missed it, but
there's been some trickles. I don't know if the brigade have.
Yeah. Because I've seen other teams posting different things. But it's just, there's lots of teams, lots of players, lots of stuff. So, okay, you'll be back on. That's good to know. That's good to know.
You heard it here first.
I heard it. Another grid exclusive here. Amazing. I'm getting them somehow. It's the proximity. Living in the UK obviously is the place people should go to find out the latest Grid League news. That makes perfect sense.
Right.
You enjoy it then? I mean, you're back for year 3. What is it that you love about it? Because what I love is the fact that you're a strength specialist, and then I get to see you like do the aerial. No, it wasn't the aerials. What was it? It was like the handspring.
I've done both. I've done aerials. Year 1, I did aerials. Last year, I did the back handspring ringer. Yeah. So, like you said in the intro, party tricks, I've got them. And it is. I think that's one of the things I love most about it is I've been competing in weightlifting for 7 years, and I love it. It's still the foundation of most of my training, although I have become a little bit more diversified in the last year. But that's the foundation. But my upbringing was gymnastics, and I stopped competing in gymnastics when I was 15. And because I started so young, some of that stuff is just ingrained in my DNA, literally from such a young age, like some of the tricks and the things I can still do, but I hadn't done them in a long time until the need arose for grid. And I love that the sport allows me to kind of combine all the different things that have made my athletic journey what it is, and to pull out some of those tricks I had no idea I was still capable of in my mid-30s. I'll be 35 this year, and to still be able to do some of those things I hadn't done in almost 2 decades is pretty cool. So that's one of the things I love about it. And then the team aspect. I had never played a team sport until grid, and it is so wildly different than the individual sports. So those are my 2 favorite things about it.
Yeah. I mean, the party trick thing, like we talk about people having party tricks, and it's amazing actually on the grid teams. You've got quite often you'll see someone you don't expect to do something like, oh, and they can do that as well. That's nice. But sometimes it's kind of messy. Like it's like, I had to step up last minute. I took in someone and I did. And I remember when I saw you like at the start line to do the handsprings, and I was like, all in my head, all I'm seeing is just clips and clips of you weightlifting and just like all these amazing, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? And they were so elegant, and they looked so nice, and they were so smooth. And I was like, oh, I wasn't. At that time, I didn't know about your background in gymnastics, but that's the kind of thing I love. It's just sort of, we even though I think I've been in the CrossFit space for so long that I don't generally put people in boxes of like what I think they can do, but still, men, you know, a little bit we do, right? And when you see somebody just, you know, so well done. You also, your weightlifting is like pretty serious as well, right? You've competed at some pretty big comps. You've got some records, if I'm not wrong, but
I've competed at the national level. I was on the podium at the national championships in 2024, which, I mean, I can retire happy now. That was my ultimate goal. I never even imagined I would be good enough to compete at the national level. And I got there. And this year I'm masters eligible, but I'm still competing in some of the open competitions. So I'm at a little bit of a crossroads trying to figure out where to go with my weightlifting. I'm still training and competing with the intention of doing, you know, continuing to progress and improve as long as I can. But at the same time, I'm also at a place where my career, as you've seen on Instagram, my career is taking off and I'm very busy with travel. And at the end of the day, sport is my hobby. I don't get paid big bucks to be an athlete. It's really a hobby for me. And so logically, I can't really make it my primary focus because it doesn't pay the bills. It's just something I enjoy doing for fun and for fitness. But I've always said I'll compete in weightlifting as much as I can until either my body decides it's no longer wants to, or it's no longer fun. And I'm not there yet. So I'm just going to continue to try to progress as best I can.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, you're doing well and you're having fun. That's the important thing. You've said you're still having fun. You've mentioned the business. We mentioned the business. Like you are. So I think the last thing I saw where you were at.
Oh no, I lost you.
Okay, I lost you. I lost myself, and then I lost you for a second.
We're back.
Right. What is going on in the chat? Some weird stuff happening. Right. While we're talking about that,
the internet is crazy.
Yeah, never normally on here. So I don't know. I think that they're coming for you. You must know them. I don't know these people. I know Jeffrey. He's the only one I know.
I don't know anybody else. So, anyways, we're back.
Anyway, we're back. What I was going to say is you are like very busy with going around. I've seen you. I think the most recent thing was like you were out with some SWAT team, like providing gym equipment and training with them. So how has all of that sort of come about and worked itself out?
It's been a gradual build over the last few years. I've been an entrepreneur for 6 years now, and really it was a product of COVID where I just needed to figure out what I was going to do, and the gyms closed down, and then it really took off into a different direction than I was expecting it. But it started out working with general population, and then over the last 3-ish years, I focused more on uniformed personnel, so military first responders primarily. And it's where my passion lies. My husband just retired from 21 years in the Marine Corps. And just watching him kind of being in that passenger seat, married to him, and watching him go through all the things he's been through, put his body through from 21 years of military service. And we've been together 14 of those years. It was very eye-opening to me how much of a need there is for good quality training, resources, programming, and just knowledge for our uniformed personnel and how they can take better care of their bodies, because they have rigid, challenging schedules. They have unique operating environments and conditions that they have to work in, and just very, very different than the civilian world. And so I just found my calling doing that. And it's taken me all over the country and given me some really unique opportunities to help people who have very difficult, demanding jobs and don't get a lot of really catered, individualized opportunities to learn how to take care of themselves. So I feel like that's where I found my calling, and that's given me some pretty cool opportunities.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think I've seen you sort of refer to it as finding purpose and sort of having. I guess you've competed a lot, and you know from an early age you could be like, and there is always that idea of if you're to be successful in sport in most endeavors, but particularly in sport, it's quite a selfish pursuit. You've got to put yourself first a lot to prioritize the things you need in order to perform at a certain level. How is it then like shifting to completely the other side of being like, it's not about me now, it's about everybody else?
It's really interesting you say that, because that is what I talk to the people that I work with about, because they are in a position, even though they're not sport athletes, we call them tactical athletes. That's what we in the strength conditioning world refer to them as tactical athletes, because they have so many of the same demands as sport athletes and so fewer resources to do that job. You know, a professional athlete has massage therapists and dietitians and physical therapists and you name it. They have all the resources in the world to do a very challenging, demanding job. But you could say the same about a tactical athlete in terms of the demands of the job and the challenges, but they don't have nearly the same resources. And so it's a lot of the same, like teaching them how to learn how to prioritize themselves so that they can then go and serve other people. So it's kind of a similar concept in terms of like where I am at in prioritizing and giving of myself to other people instead of making myself the sole focus now. Yeah. But it's a give and take.
And it's kind of ironic because you're right. Like the athletes have access to so much more stuff to do it. And then you kind of, when you zoom out and you look big picture, you're like, well, if an athlete fails at the end of the day, it's sport. Like it's not the end of the world. Whereas people in these roles, in these positions, if they fail, it, you know, could be maybe not the end of the world, but, you know, it could be the end of somebody's life. They might not, you know, make a save that they need to.
Exactly.
And yet they have a, you know, less sort of assistance to perform the way they should. It's kind of, life is fun.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting dichotomy, but you're totally right. I mean, the stakes are, they're high in both cases, but at the end, like you said, it's the championship or it's the title or it's the first place gold medal. And that's what's at stake. Whereas for the uniform population, it's people's lives, to include their own.
How do you find they respond to kind of what you're doing when you're going there, when you're trying to help? I think you find it with athletes as well, right? Like some respond really well. They kind of think, oh yeah, actually what you've got, and others are, you know, there's that idea of, well, I've made it to this, you know, I've made it this far to this level without your help or without, you know, doing the things you're saying. Why do I need to change what's already working for me now? Taking it then over to, you know, these uniform responders, like, do they really appreciate what you're doing? Do you get any kind of pushback at all from it? Or, you know, I'm just kind of curious as to the response.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's been very largely well received. There's always, like you said, there's always going to be the people who don't have that growth mindset, who feel like they've made it or they know everything and they're unwilling to hear from a different perspective or understand or gain new knowledge, that type of thing. Thankfully, it's the minority. And most of the people who fall into that category are strangers on the internet who have things to say and don't know me personally. So I'm very used to that, but they're still, you know, they're out there. But most of the people that I work with in person and have had the opportunity to either train or educate through seminars or hands-on experiences have been very receptive and have learned new things and, better yet, implemented those things. And then I hear from them later, you know, your mobility class really helped me prevent an injury or recover better or whatever. And then I'm learning how to sleep better, learning how to eat better, all the things so that they, again, can take care of their bodies and do their job for the long term and then have quality of life after. And that's why I do what I do. They deserve to have, we all deserve that. And people just either don't know or don't implement or both.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, you've mentioned like social media, strangers on the internet. You know, you've got quite a big presence online as well. You know, you've quite a big social media following. You've put out different. It's great to see. I think there's a great clip of you. I think it's you and your husband chatting, and he asks you obviously not him asking, but he's reading one of these questions about like, should women lift weights? And I'm guessing that's being in the fitness space the way you are. And then, I always find it fascinating because I think like if you're just in the CrossFit space, for example, a lot of that stuff, you can ignore it because it's so usual, like to see women lifting weights, women looking a certain way, and it's just, and it's so normal. And then everyone you meet kind of within that same space views it the same way.
Right.
And then like for me, obviously because no one's commenting on my, on my body or if I'm lifting it, but it's when I kind of see people I maybe know from CrossFit or fitness outside of that setting and I'm with other people and I hear maybe some comments they get then. And it's like, oh yeah. Not everyone is not everyone is in the fitness mindset of like, no, this is good, this is healthy, this is beneficial for them. I mean, how much of your time is, I guess, like having to not manage that, but like just deflect to this sort of kind of nonsense stuff that you get sent your way?
I mean, I get those comments daily, and I pay it no mind. I do not have the capacity, mental bandwidth to give it an ounce of thought or emotional energy. And so for most of the time, if people have comments like you look like a man or you're on steroids or any of the usual accusations that I get, I usually just block them and move on with my day. And every now and then I'll engage back, but those people they've got their mind made up already. Every once in a while, I can recall one time where someone accused me of using steroids, and I explained, like, no, I've actually been training for 30 years, and I've not taken more than a week off in my entire life, and I've been lifting heavy weights, and like all my whole, synopsis of how I got to where I am. And they're like, oh, thank you so much for clarifying. That makes sense. I was like, oh my God, I changed someone's mind on the internet. Like, this is a milestone. But very rarely are people going to actually change their minds about once they've made their mind up. So it is what it is. And I just wish that people would understand how hard it is for women to, like, we work really hard to get to where we are. And it doesn't really matter. Like, if people have comments on our bodies, like, that's never going to change. But I want women to feel, and anybody, it's not just for women, but I want people to feel that, feel confident in their own skin and recognize the benefits, and they're not doing it for anybody else. Like, I don't lift weights or want to look this way for anybody else except for myself. This is me and my journey, and everybody's got their own unique journey. And it's a lot of hard work that goes into getting to the place where I am, and same for everybody else who's gotten to wherever they are in their athletic journey. And the people who make those comments are people who 99.9% of the time probably have not put in that amount of work to get to that place. And so they're armchair quarterbacking and have a lot of things to say when they've not walked in our shoes.
Yeah. I almost feel like the one person that you can convince is dangerous, because then you suddenly like, oh, maybe there is hope. Maybe I should engage sometimes in these conversations. And then you're right. Like, a lot of people have, they've made them. I mean, I'm like taking it completely out of the fitness world, where it is a very kind of a very personal thing, obviously, because it's someone's commenting on your body or what you're doing or accusing you of taking something. It becomes very personal. But you can just look at like anything and people talking about it on the internet, and you're like, they're not even listening to each other. Like, people will jump in with I can't believe they're doing this, and somebody's trying to explain it, and they're like, no, but and you think, well, hold on, you've not read that they've said, you've not listened to what that person said. Everybody has kind of come in with their own closed mindset and are just 100%. Shouting.
Yeah. It's an echo chamber.
It is an echo chamber. Jeffrey, yes, I think there's two chats. I think there's one in the like vertical and one on the portrait, because if people are watching it on the TV or a screen, or if they're watching it on their phone, and I don't know what's going on in the chat. It's never happened before. If I can discreetly try and make you a moderator at some point, I will, but it's hard to hold a conversation and be rude and looking over there on the other screen. But we're ignoring the chat unless it's you, Jeffrey, and then we'll address you. Feel free to ask any questions you have to Rebecca. I'm curious how so you did gymnastics for, it was 12 years, right?
12 years, yep.
12 years. Why did you stop? Why did you move across? Got bored of it? Couldn't give it enough time? It was too much? Like, what was the sort of? It's always interesting to hear the reason people have to kind of jump across to something else. So
I didn't jump across immediately. If you're referring to becoming a weightlifter, that didn't happen until many years later. But gymnastics is a very demanding sport, and when you start at a young age and you compete at a high level, it becomes your whole life for a child. And I was kind of at a crossroads again back then, where I competed all the way up till going into high school. And then I was also a very avid student, taking all the honors classes, and I wanted to take a lot of AP classes in high school to get credit for, I don't know what they call it in UK, but if that's the same thing or something different, but the classes you can take to take an exam and then get college credit. Right. And I really wanted to focus on academics in high school, and decided at that point that I was most likely going to do that and not continue with competitive gymnastics. And then it was my my 8th grade year, I was going to compete at the California State Championships, and I dislocated my knee like 4 days before the meet. And then it was kind of just, that was what sealed the deal for me. So I didn't obviously get to compete at the meet that weekend. And then I decided after that I fully rehabbed my knee and everything was fine, but I decided not to continue with the sport. And I went into high school, focused on academics all through high school. And then in college is when I found the weight room, and I started just doing bodybuilding and, the usual stuff that people oftentimes start with, and got really interested in lifting weights, not in any specific way, just getting stronger, feeling stronger, noticing the changes happening in my body. So then I started to learn about nutrition and kind of just layered on top of itself over the years. And then I started weightlifting when I was 27.
Nice. Did you miss the gymnastics because obviously you're right. It's so intensive. It's so time consuming. It's, you've got to give so much of yourself to it. Because it feels like you were anyway leaning towards stepping away from that, but then it also kind of got taken away from you. Maybe you didn't go out on the way you would have liked, which is disappointing. But after that, was it nice to have that extra time to be able to focus on other things, or was there a part of you that kind of felt like, I've given 12 years training doing this thing and now I kind of miss it?
We're going back a long time in history now. I don't really remember how I felt exactly, but I think I remember feeling a little bit of relief just because it was such a time-consuming sport, and balancing that with homework and school and caring as much about academics as I did about sport, it was a lot. And so I think going into high school, I felt a little bit like I can have a little bit of a normal life now and just focus on studying and have friends and friendships and do social things, which I never really had time for prior to that. So I think I felt a little bit of relief, but there's always an element, you've probably heard and seen it. It's like once a gymnast, always a gymnast. And that goes for the physical aspect of it. And then also some of the other aspects too. So I think the sport, I've talked about this on other podcasts too, but the sport of gymnastics laid the foundation for the way I live now in terms of my discipline, my structure, my routine. And there's no doubt in my mind that really set the stage for my adulthood. And I didn't appreciate that until much, much later in life. But at the time, I remember feeling a little relief, but also, maybe a little bit remorseful that I didn't continue or couldn't continue after that.
Yeah. So you didn't notice it, or maybe you didn't realize until looking back and then, reflecting back on it, being like, oh yeah, I had discipline and dedication, and I understood, that sometimes you've got to do things that, you've got to do the boring stuff because it's important and all of that. When you were, at college and beyond, or different, and now you've got friends that maybe have come from different backgrounds, could you notice a difference in sort of your approach to things and some the people you were associating with?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like I said, it just instilled in me a level of discipline that I think is probably atypical for a child, definitely. But even as an adult, I just that's kind of what I'm known for, I guess, in the people that I surround myself with, and who are also high performers. I don't surround myself with people who are not high performers generally, but I mean, even among those people, people know me for that. I'm obsessed with my color-coded calendar. I don't miss appointments. I'm just very, very rigid, and maybe to a fault in some aspects, but it is who I am, and it's helped me get to where I am, for better or for worse. There's definitely pros and cons to it, but I have no doubt in my mind that it goes back to all the way to childhood.
Yeah. Good. Speaking of childhood, I have a question, and then I'm going to throw over to some good questions Jeffrey's asking. So my question is, giving up the gymnastics and obviously dedicating all of that time to the gymnastics, how was your family's sort of feeling about, your parents? Were they very pro kind of, yeah, we've got, I imagine they've, been along that journey with you, from the beginning. When you sort of were telling them that you were going to stop, was there a kind of, oh, but you're so good at it, you should keep going? Or were they, was it a very much just, it's your decision, do whatever you want? Or I'm just, again, as a dad, I'm always curious to know how other parents react to their children's decisions.
My parents were always supportive of what I wanted to do. People have asked me before, did you get the discipline and the athleticism? Is that from your parents? And no, it's not. I mean, they were both successful in their own careers, but not either of them were competitive athletes in anything. And I think the discipline really, I think it came from gymnastics. They supported my decision to start it, and then supported me all the way through my career, came to all the competitions that they could, filmed them on, the old VCR, on your shoulder video cameras and then DVDs eventually. But yeah, they were very supportive. And then when I decided to not continue to focus on academics instead, they were equally as supportive of that. And if I had to guess, looking back, I think that they probably were happy that I chose to focus on academics and get into a good school and start college with a semester's worth of credits and all of that. So they never tried to dissuade me or persuade me one way or the other, but they were supportive all the way through.
Yeah. Are you a bit like that? Like, obviously, maybe it's been dialed up to a higher degree because of the gymnastics and other things you've done in life. But do you see kind of that, you know, oh, maybe my mum is this or my dad is like very organized, very kind of, does anyone else in the family have the color-coded calendar, I guess is the question I'm asking.
My mom a little bit in terms of her organization and communication, I guess. I got that a little bit from her. My brother and I are wildly different. So right. I don't think, I mean, it's nature versus nurture. I don't know. I think it's probably a little bit of both, but I think I over time developed to realize that just the older I've gotten, I realize like what I need to do to get to where I want to be. And it's become a pretty easy, like, litmus test. Is this helping me get closer to where I want to be? Is this not? And then I make my decisions accordingly. It's pretty cut and dry that way. So
no, it's good. Works. Seems to be working. Yeah. As you said, with all of this stuff, it's kind of like, you know, it's nice to look at it and analyze it a little bit, but at the end of the day, you're like, well, it's working, so it's what I'm doing. and
exactly.
I'm happy. Right. First question. So is Rebecca originally from Texas?
I am not. I grew up in Southern California. I don't claim that proudly, but it's where I'm from. So I lived there till I was 18. Then I went across the country to college in Maryland, and that's where I met my now husband. And he's as I mentioned before, he was in the military his entire career. So we moved from 2013 until basically this past year. We moved pretty much every 2 to 3 years, and now we're finally settled in Texas for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Happy, enjoying it.
Love it.
Yeah, love it. Okay. That's if the doubleheader this year is in Texas again. Oh no, well, yeah, it was Texas, right? Last time.
Yep,
yeah.
It was.
Yeah. I mean, so, you know, as much as I loved coming out for the championship match, it was fantastic. And it was great to see people like yourself. It was a little bit bittersweet for me because it was a long way to travel for one day and not even all the teams are there.
Yeah.
So
what you're saying is you want to come to Texas.
I kind of want to come to the doubleheader, and if it's in Texas again, which, you know, I hear things, that might be the one. So
we will welcome you with open arms and cowboy hats.
Could you imagine me full suit and then a cowboy hat and
absolutely I could. There's no other way.
They will put me back on the live stream if that happens. So that's always good for me. Question about your gymnastics and your weightlifting. Do you feel that your gymnastic background helped with more complex weightlifting in regards to mobility?
Absolutely, unequivocally, yes. I think it's a big differentiator. And that is probably just across the board, one of the aspects of athleticism that is often overlooked and oftentimes ignored until it can't be. And when it comes to weightlifting, like you cannot ignore mobility. It is a prerequisite. You truly cannot do the lifts unless you have adequate ankle mobility, hip mobility, thoracic mobility, shoulder mobility, wrist mobility. Like you need all of it. And so I do thank gymnastics for giving me that. And also I thank myself for maintaining it, because there was a 12-year gap between when I stopped doing gymnastics and when I started Olympic weightlifting. And I made a promise to myself, because I knew when I was young and constantly training for gymnastics, like flexibility and mobility is built into that sport. And I saw a lot of gymnasts who retired and came back to visit, and like a year, 2, 5 years later, they stopped doing much of the same stuff. And they were like, oh my gosh, I can't do the splits anymore. I can't do this anymore. And I made a mental note at age 15. I never wanted to lose the ability to do the splits and to move do handstands and move the way that I can, because it feels so good to be able to move my body in all these ways. And I didn't want getting older to be an excuse or a reason that I lost that capability. And here we are, I'm almost 35, 20 years later, and I can still do pretty much all those things when it comes to flexibility and mobility. And it has helped me so much in weightlifting. Absolutely.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with someone just the other day, because I'm I will very soon be 39, so I'm like knocking on the door of 40, and they said to me, you know, oh, you know, and I kind of was like joking about it, and then they were like, oh, are you kind of worried about turning 40, or you know, sad about that? And I was like, no, I mean, I said, I know people say, you know, age is just a number, but the longer I spend in this sort of realm, the more I feel that age is just a number, because I see people in their 50s, 60s, 70s weightlifting, going to competitions and doing incredible things. And then you kind of look just out in the world in general, and you'll see someone who, you know, retires at 60 and decides they're just going to sit around for 5 years, and they can't move the same way this 80-year-old can move. So it's like, it's what you've done in those, you know, in those 35 years is the issue, right? It's not that you've been alive for that long. It's what have you done during that time?
100%.
So the fact that you can still do splits, you obviously do handstand all the time. I imagine I see, you know, everyone that's within grid and that they all, you know, they're always on their hands at one moment or another. I'm curious to know how you got in. So like going into weightlifting, great. You've mentioned that you found the gym. You found the weight room, and then you kind of built from there. I noticed there is this like, well, this is why I was gonna say that seems logical to me, because you clearly are analytical and studious. And I think if you find the weight room and you start lifting weights, and then you almost sounded like you were self-diagnosing yourself a little bit, because you're like, and I noticed my muscles were getting bigger, and I saw like if I was doing this was happening, and if I was doing that. So you're kind of almost experimenting on yourself for what works within strength and conditioning.
Yep.
And you know, if you're a technical person and you've got that analytical mind, Olympic weightlifting is like the logical next step, right? Because that is, how can I lift weights in an efficient way using motion to generate force, to like all of that. You probably understand it way better than I do. But Grid League that seems like it comes out of nowhere. So I'm curious how you then, did they reach out to you? Did you find that? Did you like, how did that come on your radar in the first place?
Yeah, Jess contacted me. So Jess is the captain of the brigade, and she reached out to me. I love that story too. Yes, she is. She reached out to me March of 2020. What was my first season? 24. And
you're checking on your watch
for the date. What year is it? Let me look at the time to tell you what year it is. So she reached out to me March of 2024, and I get a lot of messages on my Instagram, and I delete a lot of them. And I vividly remember, I had my finger on the delete button, and I almost deleted her message. And then she's like, I think it said something to the effect of like, hey, I'm part of the Tampa Bay Brigade, and we're looking for female strength specialists. Have you ever considered playing grid before? And I was like, I don't know what this is. Let me just delete this. And then I took my finger off, like just decided not to delete it. And then I clicked on her profile instead, and I looked at what she was doing and what grid was. And then I was like, this is really interesting. So I replied, instead of deleting it, I hit reply. And I said, can you send me more information of what this would entail? I had 1,000 questions for her, and she answered all of them, bless her. And so she basically told me, like, these are the tryouts. And I think it was 2 or 3 days before rosters had to be solidified. And so she's like, if you could just send me these, million different things that I could look at your times and your technique and all this stuff. I was like, okay, let me just get right on that. And so my husband filmed some videos from the different angles, got my times for some of the ladders and like some of the more strength-based stuff. I sent it to her. And then the next day she was like, all right, we want you on the team. Here's your LOI. Here's this, that, and the other, and go. And so that's how that came to be.
Yeah. I'm curious. I mean, I'd love to know. I have to speak to the other owners. I'd be like, did anyone else send you a message that just got deleted? That's the question.
Yeah, I don't think so, but maybe it's possible.
Potentially. Sounds like it, doesn't it? I'm happy to know my messages aren't getting deleted. So that's this show's working really well for me.
Yeah, I get a lot of creepy, weird things, and I delete all those. And then if there's a lot of people like want me to promote this product or try this thing, and I'm just like, I don't have time for any of this. So I thought it was just another one of those things, and I was like, well, it has the word strength in it, and let me see what this is about. Yeah. So
I was going to ask if she still had the same, if the Instagram handle she has now is the same one she has when
Yep.
Oh yeah, okay. Because that doesn't, whenever I say anything about Jess, she always hears it, so I got to be so careful. But Like,
Still have
it's
something
not,
to say regardless.
it's not the most professional sounding like handle, right? If you were, unless, did she send you it from she didn't send it from the Tampa Baby Grade
From her
one.
own.
It was from her personal one,
Yep.
which is like, it's a gym, not a runway. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, look at that off the top of my head. Just got
Well done. Well done.
Which I can understand if you're someone who's like, and I get sent stuff to promote and I don't really care about that. And I don't, and then it's like, it's a gym, not a runway. Like, oh, like, what is this? Just
exactly
in the bin. I understand that. Jeffrey is asking if you, other than grid, have you participated in any CrossFit competitions?
I did. My husband and I did a partner competition a year ago, April. So it's funny. So I've been like all strength gymnastics and then like all strength all the time, weightlifting. And then that's mostly what I do in grid. But then as I've gotten to my mid-30s, I decided that I didn't want to just be strong. And, I track all my stats with a Whoop. And then now Whoop is always reminding me like, your strength is really good, your sleep is really good, but your cardiovascular kind of sucks. So they say it in a nice way. But I was like, I want to be more well-rounded. And I've always thought and known in my head that competition is important to me. It's fun. It's something I do because I enjoy it. But at the end of the day, my number one, bar none, priority is longevity, health and longevity. And sometimes competitive sport and longevity do not go hand in hand. There's a lot of sacrifices to our health that we make or can choose to make. And I decided like a year and a half ago that I wanted to become a little bit more well-rounded and have some semblance of, cardiovascular fitness to speak of and not just be strong and that's it. So I did join a CrossFit gym a year ago and I committed to doing at least one, if not sometimes two CrossFit classes a week. And then they roped us into doing a partner competition. So my husband and I did that a year ago, April, and we didn't do that great, but we did it. And it was hard, very, very different than lifting a heavy barbell for 1 rep. This was, a lot of different movements and a lot more cardiovascular than I'm used to. So that was that. And then I just agreed to, like a couple days ago, my grid teammates, there's a competition. There's a lot of CrossFit competitions in Tampa, and that's what brigade are. And 2 of my brigade female teammates were part of teams, and both of them had players back out for a female trio. And so they decided to join forces and then asked in the brigade chat if any of the other females wanted to be their third. And I basically got voluntold that I should do it. And so it's 1 utility player, 1 body weight, and then I'm the strength. So kind of, if you put us all together, we are pretty well-rounded. So
who have you got on the team?
Marissa and Kayla.
Okay.
So we're going to do the Masters, which makes me feel a little bit better. So I have no idea what I'm getting myself into, but that is going to be in April, early April. So I'll be going out to Tampa and competing with them for that.
Excellent. So we'll see how that goes. It's funny because do you know the name of the comp?
WOD Wars.
WOD Wars. Okay. Oh, Jeffrey. I wonder if Jeff's going to be like judging or something. Yeah, maybe. I've got a competition this Sunday, and I famously do not compete. It's like been my catchphrase for the last sort of 5 or so years around all the athletes I know and all the kind of CrossFit competitions I go to, and that is that I do not compete. So, and I remember the owner of the box calling me out on that and being like, well, you do the Open every year. And I'm like, well, the Open I don't view the Open as a competition because I have no, like the place I will finish on the Open leaderboard, it's not a competition. It's a community event. I do it to be a part of the box and to, cheer people on and so on and so forth. So that's why I do that. But I have gone to this event for the last couple of times they've run it. And it's an adaptive, like 1 adaptive athlete and 1 able-bodied athlete pairs competition. So cool. It's pretty nice. I've always enjoyed being there because I've seen I go to quite a few comps in the UK, and you recognize not like the elite athletes, but even just those that like quite regularly go to competitions and just like to have fun. So I know a lot of faces. I kind of recognize people. And I went the first time I went there, I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't recognize hardly anybody that's competing. And I was talking to them as I do. And it was things like, oh yeah, my wife's in a wheelchair and this is the only competition we can ever do partnered up. And it thinks, so that's why I don't normally compete, but I'm doing it. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's awesome. They've got their biggest ever one in now Sunday. And I'd agreed months ago that I would be there to do media and, you know, my usual stuff. And I think in October they messaged me and were like, hey, if we gave you a partner, would you actually do the competition? And I've already said I'm there, so I can't like, oh, I'm busy. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I won't be available. So I had to say yes. And yeah, that's this Sunday. So I'm.
How are you feeling?
Well, today, what was good is I went to the box this morning. And also I am just I do the class. For the last like 9-10 years, I've been going there and I just do the class. That's all I do. And so that's not changing this week. But I went, and the class today, it was a repeat of an open workout from 2011 that was squat clean, a clean and then a shoulder to overhead, but probably a kind of a push jerk. An AMRAP 5 minutes. So how many you could do. Then we had a 5-minute break and then 10 minutes to find a 1 rep max clean and jerk. Which and they would like explain, you know, about the whiteboard being like, and this is really good because it's you know, you're going to be fatigued, so this is about can you know, trying to find a 1 rep max under fatigue. Well, the 4th workout of the event, the final workout, is going to be 1 rep max clean and jerk. So I was like, oh, this is pretty good to see, you know, how does it feel when I am fatigued and trying to do it. So that was good. I haven't had a drop of alcohol since October. Like from the time they told me I had to compete, I was like, okay, then let's not drink anything. I've been pretty good with my eating. Sleep as well is something I've been working on. Not tonight, obviously, but generally I've been trying to sleep better. So we'll see. But I don't know. I don't compete, Rebecca. I don't compete. That's the thing.
Well,
I don't.
You're gonna have to change your language because you do this weekend.
Yeah, it's. I think more than anything, it's like nutrition and stuff like that, where I don't really know. Like, I don't know what to eat in the morning. I don't know what kind of food to take with me because I'm not used to doing multiple workouts in a day like that. I did do I've done one event, but it wasn't an event. It was very much a charity. It was like a charity throwdown at the box. It was for a really good cause, and I did that, and it was like 3 very small workouts, and you know, and I did the triathlon, which was one of the most horrific experiences of my life.
What does that entail?
So it was, I can't remember if it was, I want to say if it was an hour or 2 hours on each. So there was 3 stations. It was a C2 bike, the assault runner, and a ski erg. And you were a team of 6, and it was max distance. And you had like, was it 2 hours on each machine? And but you were basically like, so when we signed up for it, we were like, oh, that's fine. You know, you'll do like 15 minutes and then swap with someone else and this and that. And then people go, no. The way you have to basically sprint and then be like rolling through these 6 people. So you're doing maybe 1 minute sprints and just changing out every sort of 6 minutes. And we did the bike first, which was pretty bad. And then people started cramping. And then I jumped on because they were cramping, we were like moving around much faster now. We weren't going through 6 people, we were going like through 4 people. And I remember my legs just started to feel like it was about to cramp. And I jumped on the runner. And when I got off the runner, I just like collapsed to the floor, and I couldn't bend my knee. It was just so like, yeah. And then yeah. And I was doing everything. I was making sure I was having plenty of salt and electrolytes and everything that people told me I should do. I'd done. So this will go better than that, though. That was a horrific experience, but this will be lovely.
This will be much better.
Be nice. This will be much better, and you're going to have a good time at your at WOD Wars, so that's good. Apparently, gummy bears, from what I hear. Yeah. What do you take? Because obviously, I mean, the grid matches are like the races. Obviously, they're back to back kind of style, but they're also short, and you're also doing, you know, I mean, if it's like the what am I going to say? Not the mirror. The quick, name me the different races. Why can't I think of the one?
Forward, mirror, echo. ladder.
Ladder. Oh, there we go. If it's the ladder, shocking. If it's the ladder, you're doing like 4 lifts,
right,
and then you're done, right? So that's not much. And
it's very suited to my strengths in terms of not like physical strength, but like the things that I'm better at, because as I've trained for mostly weightlifting, it's hard effort for a very short duration, and that is basically a grid. So, and except for triad. So if I'm ever in triad for more than like 3 elements, say a prayer for me, because that's a lot of cardio. But everything else, I mean, it's so short and fast and heavy, or gymnastics, whatever. So it's quick.
Yeah. So that's the thing I should be surprised by. So it shouldn't be that, oh, I saw you lined up on the, start line for a gymnastics ringer. That shouldn't surprise me. I should be like, oh, hold on. Why do they keep putting Rebecca in this triad? That's not her jam.
I mean, if I could do like 1 or 2 things, but I think they wanted me. I think I ended up doing 3, but originally the plan was for me to do 4 of the 5 elements in triad. And I think if I were to try it now, just having done a little bit more cardio over the last 6 months, I probably would fare much better. But at that point in time, I hit a wall, and it wasn't like my lungs. It was just like my muscular endurance is just not there, because I don't train high rep. I train low rep with heavy weight, and it's just such a different stimulus.
I do find that, and I don't know if it's I don't know if this is like an age thing or so I've changed something, but that's something I'm finding recently is like, it's not the weight. Like the weight's not becoming the issue. It's just the quantity of reps. I'm just fatiguing very quickly after like and my other thing is that if I'm doing bigger jumps, like when I'm increasing in weight, because I'm just like, I feel like I have a finite number of lifts, regardless of sort of how heavy it is. And sometimes we'd like do the warm up. I'll do like, we'll have done a warm up, and then we'll kind of maybe set the bar and stuff for the workout. And you'll do, they'll be like, I'll do a couple of reps to make sure. I'll do like 1. I'm like, that's it. I'm saving the rest for the workout. I'm not wasting these reps anymore. I'm saving every single one. What have you done to help you with your cardio and kind of bringing up is it just Metcons, just kind of CrossFit workouts, or have you been doing anything else sort of on the side?
So I mentioned earlier, I joined a CrossFit gym a year ago, and when I was not traveling, I was very consistent with my at least 1, sometimes 2 CrossFit workouts a week. And I would intentionally go on the days that were more cardio focused. Like, I don't need to go to CrossFit and do barbell snatches or cleans or thrust. Like, I'm good with the barbell. I want to go to the workouts where it's echo bike or row or ring stuff or wall balls, like just the stuff I don't do, but might see in grid. Not so much the cardio, but just the stuff that's like to work on my weaknesses. And so I did that for the last year. And as of maybe like 6 weeks ago, 6 or 8 weeks ago, I added in. So now I'm pretty good now with my 4 days a week of weightlifting, 1 CrossFit workout, and 1 like VO2, just strict VO2 workout where I'm either on the row or a rowing machine or running or something, where I'm doing 4 minutes on, pretty close to max effort, 4 minutes rest 4 times. And so that just gets me, in that horrible mental place of like, just endure the suck. It's over in 4 minutes, do it 4 times. And then, but I have noticed a difference just in when I do, having done that now for a couple of months and then going to do the CrossFit, like I'm actually keeping up with the RX people, and sometimes I'm the first one done, and it does feel good to feel more well-rounded and more fit and not just strong.
Yeah. Jeffrey says barbell cycling can be some intense cardio. Yeah.
True. Very true.
Pick it up and put it down fast enough. Like everything can be cardio.
For the CrossFit comp in April, one of the workouts is called the girls, and it's 1 person does Fran, 1 person does Isabel, 1 person does Grace. And so I've never attempted any of those. So they assigned me the snatches. So I think that's Isabel. I don't know the CrossFit lingo very well, but so yeah, I'll be doing 30 snatches for time. I have yet to try it, but I'm going to get a preliminary time probably this week, see how it goes, and then work to improve that by April. So
yeah, I think it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because you obviously got very good technique, and the weight's not going to be an issue for you at all. So it is going to be purely the amount of reps that you're doing. So that'll be whereas I know some, it's like, oh, I've got to hit close to my 1 rep max, 30 times, and someone else is like, oh, this is lightweight 30 times, great. So Grace would be a good one too. Yeah,
that's a clean and jerks, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. The workout I'm doing, the event I'm going to, like the first workout's got 24 kilos, which will be whatever. Well, you know, you must know kilos. You do weightlifting.
I do know kilos. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 24 kilo kettlebell clusters to begin, which synchro, and I got to try and synchro up with someone I've never worked out with before, who is in a wheelchair, so he's got a different, you know, the range of motion is going to be different, so it's going to be really, it's going to be challenging. But
is it single kettlebell or double?
Single. So yeah. Otherwise, I can't really remember any of the other workouts. I think there's one that's got like wall walks and ring dips and I don't know, something else. Deadlifts. Again, deadlift like that's not super heavy, but just lots of reps. And then there's one with rope climbs. So yeah, it'll be a nice, fun, lot of stuff. But a work colleague asked me, you know, he knows I do CrossFit, knows I've been doing this for a long time, and he finally was like, I've realized I've got no cardio and I need to do something. What should I do? Kind of, and I know, you know, as much as I could tell him, oh, you should just join CrossFit and do that. That'll be the best thing. I know his situation and family life and things like that is going to be very difficult for him to buy out the time, because he's got, you know, when he's at home, he's with the kids and his wife is at work, and then they swap kind of thing, that sort of style. So I was like, oh yeah, I've got to give him some good suggestions, but I feel like a pressure to make sure I give really good advice. You are probably synchro at the top. I think we'll be synchro at the top. I just worry because he's got I'm gonna get it wrong, but maybe it's a spinal injury, but it's quite high, so I know that it's limited like a lot. So I don't know if I don't think he's going to be able to just hang out and wait for me at the top of his rep. And I've obviously got to go from the bottom of a squat all the way to the top and reach out overhead. So that's my synchro at the top, but who knows how long he's going to wait for me. Final thing then, Rebecca, is what's like coming up? We've talked a lot about your past, but what have you got? What you got going on we're in February. We've got almost the whole year ahead of us. Yeah.
Well, I've got some travel. March through the summer is going to be heavy travel, so I'm just preparing for that. I've enjoyed a pretty low-key January and February with not too much travel, so that's good, but March is going to pick up. So getting ready for that, and then competition-wise, April will be the CrossFit comp that I just mentioned, and then grid season starts in May. So that'll be May through August, September, and I'll probably have a weightlifting comp in there at some point, and we'll see what happens. I'm here for the ride.
Yeah. I mean, and you're not busy.
Yes.
We still haven't found the word, but
Jeff,
whatever that
Jeff
is.
Put something in the chat. Engaged, I think is what he said. It was way at the top. Engaged. I liked it.
Engaged.
Yeah. Engaged.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Well, at least we've done something for you today, which I appreciate. Jeff has done something for you. I've done nothing. Okay. Very good. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been nice to have an actual proper chat, because the one time I've met you in person, you were obviously, you know, dialed in and focused and had stuff to do, and I was also very nervous about everything I was doing. So, you know,
and you had just had like the travel nightmare.
Oh yeah,
if I recall correctly.
Yeah, but I hear flying into Texas will be problem free, is what they tell me. Right? It will be,
count on it,
a dream. So
count on it. I'll see you. I'll have a cowboy hat ready for you. We'll be rocking and rolling, two-stepping.
I really do. I do need to look into trying to get this. It's funny. I mean, I noticed they just announced a second team joining.
Yeah.
And I've been asking every single person that like was involved with. There must be another team, right? There has to be. We've got an odd number of teams. It doesn't work. There must be another team. Oh, I don't know anything about it. And now finally.
Yeah, they did a good job keeping it under wraps, because I had no clue. I don't think anybody on my team had a clue until they announced it.
Yeah. Well, so here we go. Well, just look at it as another team for you to beat, Rebecca. There you go. That's
exactly. I like that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Jeffrey. You've been very useful today. We appreciate that. I doubt you'll be able to join me for the next show, which will be, I'm actually going to do 2 this week, and then I think I'll have next week off. So I'll be back on Thursday at about 1 p.m. in the UK, which will be, I don't know, crazy early in different parts of America. But I will be with Syria Miha from who you might know from like doing very well at the French Throwdown and winning recently the full series in Italy. And I think we're going to talk about the Arnolds that is coming up as well. So yeah, lovely person. got to chat to her a bit in Milan recently, and so she should be on the show if anyone wants to come back for that. Go follow Rebecca's journey because it's incredible, but just don't send her creepy, weird messages.
Please.
And even if you send her a nice message, there's a good chance it just gets deleted anyway.
No, I respond to anybody who says something nice, asks a thoughtful question. I do try to respond to as many of those as I can. But if it's like an emoji or a weird, creepy, or a marriage proposal, I'm sorry, I will not reply to those.
No, well, you're already taken, so you know
I am.
they should know that. All right, well, thank you so much, and thank you everybody, and we'll see you